Hello, good listener, and welcome to the first of our Long Dark specials that we'll be releasing over the next coming weeks and months. This episode, I was lucky enough to be joined by Gabi and Sam, who are integral in the running of songs and stories, so it's a real treat. Instead of the usual intros and outros, there's going to be music in the middle of the episode and at the end of the episode to kind of give you a feel of what Songs and Stories is all about. I'm frantically editing the concluding part to the story of Anok and his tower, but it's a big job, so it's all coming together now, but I don't want to rush anything. And finally, I forgot to thank our patrons who luckily kindly offer to help support the podcast, and with all the travelling up and down, guys, I really appreciate it. And if you would like to help, then you can go to our Patreon at the LARP Noobs. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. I hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome to the LARP Noobs podcast. Today is a wonderful, wonderful special that we have here for something that's very close to both myself and Ian's hearts, which is we're going to talk about songs and stories. If you'd like to introduce yourselves and tell us your names and your character names, that would be great.
So my name is Gabi and my character name is Idwin, Split Root, and I run some of Songs and Storytime.
My name is Sam. My in-character name is Sparrow Try for Oakenheart, and I too run part of Songs and Storytime.
Yeah, but you guys are like from our point of view as new players, you're very recognisable as part of the nation, and it's like, for those that, let's explain what Songs and Story is, right? So actually, yeah, Gabi, do you want to explain what Songs and Story is?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's just a space where people can come, tell their stories, sing their songs, but it's very much like, you're not there to sit and chat and have music as the background. The music is very much the focus of it, and you're there to be respectful and to listen. So I think it's a really nice space for people to just come, and if they're really nervous, it's a really nice crowd. Everyone will really G you up and support you, which I think is awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it represents a really nice area for people that are maybe more experienced in music or storytelling or theatre, but also people that have no experience of that and maybe giving themselves a little, you want to dip your toe into it and try. I think that's one thing that we felt when we first went, was watching other people perform. We were it really gets your creative juices flowing, and It was we wanted to maybe do something ourselves. Yeah. And I managed to do something last event, which I was really, really excited about and really, really nervous about. But doing it was I'm so happy I did, and everything went well. So, and if I can do it, so can you. So, right. So let's go back a bit. So, how did you, Gabi? How did you get involved in LARP in the first place?
I mean, the first LARP I ever went to was Empire, so right. E1 Year 1.
Same, right?
Yeah.
Well, not E1. Yeah.
Yeah. So E1 Year 1, and I had a character for about maybe 2 or 3 events.
Hold on. How did you go? How was that your first event? Did you just see it and were oh, well, that looks cool?
So my partner did Maelstrom, the game before. And he'd been bugging me for 2 years, and I was no, it sounds super lame.
Why do I hang out with a bunch of nerds in the field? Cut to you 5 years later,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and then eventually he was this new game is starting, it's going to be really, really good, and so yeah, that was how I got.
And was that when you were? Were you Navarre from the start?
I was, yeah, different character, but I was Navarre. I did that terrible thing of, I've come 2 or 3 events in and my character has died. I shall come back as her cousin.
Yeah.
Who has very similar interests.
There are some huge families in the Empire.
I know.
They
look
really
remarkably similar, just without the bloody wig.
Yeah. Okay, Sam, how did you get involved in Empire?
I came into it rather late, actually. I think year... What year are we on right now? 7 or 8?
Yeah.
I think I came in year 3 or 4.
Oh yeah, you're so late. Oh my god, compared to me, it's
They can't see this, but I'm flipping them off. So I came in about year 3 or 4. My first event was E4, I think, of that year, and I was so unprepared. I got a tent. I forgot my sleeping bag.
Oh yeah, I actually remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that was hell on earth.
Also doing
E4 as your first event is like you have one event and then you don't get to go again for 6 months. It's the worst time to do it.
The Keen was so huge.
To be fair, it might have helped you though.
idea.
If you weren't happy with your kit and character and all that stuff, it gives you nothing but to think about that for 6 months.
My kit was, well, my soft kit was non-existent because I didn't.
Is there any now?
Shut up. I've got more covering my legs than I do my chest.
Yes.
You know that.
The shirtless
So
wonder.
my soft kit, I didn't have any because I just hadn't had the time beforehand, and I probably would have forgotten half of it anyway. I would just went around in all of my leather and all my chainmail all the time.
Yep. That was me. That was me on my first event. It was full. The difference between my soft kit and hard kit, not that I even understood that those were terms, were identical. You know what I mean? Like, to be fair, I went E1. I was like the 2 years ago, or whatever, when the weather was horrendous. That narrows it down, but it was awful, and therefore
was that Storm Katie? Was it that one?
I think it might have been. Yeah,
Oh.
it was like
No, I remember
not
that.
E1 just gone the one before type thing. You know, last.
It was
couple of years
horrendous.
ago.
And mind you,
It was
most
awful, and
E1s
the
were terrible.
rivers of mud and
Yeah.
everything like that, and it was just like we were cold, we had no fire, we were damp and cold for the entire weekend. We only had one. I had one load, but therefore it became like wearing your the hard kit was just like obvious because I need to stay warm.
Yeah,
I just
it's
need
an
the layers.
extra layer.
Yeah, and I had
that
like 2
looks
t-shirts
icy.
on underneath. You know, it was
Yeah.
horrendous. Yeah, it's a good example of like nobody. Well, very few people show up for their first LARP
Prepared.
and look
fully.
the business
Well, yeah.
as well, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
but it's nice that people. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I actually put maybe more effort into maybe RPing with some people with weaker kit because it's clear that they probably haven't been to that many events. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's sometimes it can be a signifier that someone hasn't been there and maybe doesn't know everything. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go to. So, songs and stories. How did songs and stories get created? Like, because from what this is my understanding, it was a player run thing.
Yeah. The legendary Go Out to Bracken song.
Right.
Stars in my eyes. Yeah.
Hey, stop fangirling out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So Jamie Wakefield, who's a very, very talented man. He basically started off this space because, as he told me at the time, he felt that LARP music was very much one of two things: either a 12-verse sonnet that everyone was asleep and bored to death with by the end of,
Sure.
or a bawdy song about boobs. And it was like there
Hey,
wasn't
there's nothing wrong about a bawdy song about boobs. Come on, but
That's
yeah, I know. I
sure,
get what
yeah.
I get.
But
what
you know what I mean?
though.
It was
Yeah.
like, but it was just boring. Didn't feel real, you know. And very like obviously very modern filked songs that people. Sorry, filking is when you change the words for a normal song
I did
and
know.
change
Filking.
filking.
As in
yeah.
the name, like Phil.
It's like milk without the M, but with an F.
Filking.
Yeah.
Okay.
That took me a second.
Do you know where that comes from?
I don't know actually.
Filking goes way back,
But
way
the word.
beyond.
Do you know where the word?
I can't tell you where the word comes from.
No, I don't know.
Because I see that a lot, and it's like I feel like that. We'll talk about that later, actually, because I think
Yeah.
that's a really interesting conversation about
Yeah.
where
It's a
that
damn good
line
point.
is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, okay. So back to
And
the
so
origins.
and so he wanted to create a space that was, you know, a space for music, but that was original to the setting
Yeah.
to make it feel more real and like we actually had a culture. And I think at first that Garak was not a player character. That originally in Empire, they actually all of the nations had a bard.
Effectively, yeah.
I think,
Worked
but
in a
then
similar way
they
to an egregore.
somewhere along the way that they decided against that. But Jamie carried on, and that's why we've got this incredible space now.
So did it? Okay, so for E1, right? So was there anything resembling Songs and Stories?
Oh, so E1 year one was basically a small campfire, maybe about 10, 20 people around said campfire in the woods when there were more trees. Obviously, a different site.
Yeah.
And yeah, Jamie and his guitar, and he'd written a bunch of songs that some of which we still play
Still
now.
singing yeah.
You know,
cool.
that were specific for Empire. original songs, you know.
I find like it's one thing that we kind of picked up on fairly early when you're listening to songs and stories, that they are part of the world that we live in.
Yeah, and
right?
that is, I think, what he wanted to do is create something that felt real and part of the world, rather than let's all just get pissed and sing.
Well, I think
about
we were really
There's a
interested
place
in like
for that, but you know,
the possibility that the song we're listening to is about a person that could be sat next to you, maybe a different character, but it could potentially be someone that you know around you, right?
So
What?
It's just the number of times where like somebody's character has died and you're waiting for their new character to mysteriously be around the fire, like, oh, they're here, play the song that's about how they died.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because that actually happened to me, but with a wonderful story that was told by Sam. So yeah, and I cried like a baby.
Yeah.
So
it's something. Yeah, it really
I'm
is
still.
something.
it's a good 20-second hug in there as well.
Like I know we're talking about this on the podcast and stuff, but like emotionally, I'm still processing that. Like, what does that even mean? Like the fact I'm not like a big weepy person or anything. Like, maybe the odd movie, like that bit where Dumbo's holding his mum's trunk and has to leave her. Like that will get me, right? Like that will get me. But I don't have a heart of stone. But to be like just around many strangers and suddenly get really weepy because of something, I'm still decompressing that. I don't know whether there is an end to that riddle of like trying to understand it, or whether I should even bother. You know,
have I just given you like lifetime trauma?
No, you've given me a lot to think about.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, no, in a great way. But then also the spectre of narcissism over the top of it, where I'm just like, so the only thing that got you to cry at last is someone telling you a story about you for like 10-15 minutes. That's what got you, Dave, is it? Like, oh, that's great. What a wonderful human being you are.
It gets everyone, though. It really does.
Oh, it does? Okay,
Because
cool.
I wonder whether it's something to do with the fact that in real life, you will never be at your own funeral.
Yeah, true.
Whereas at LARP, like, obviously
you
kind of can be, you know.
It's like we do it on the podcast, which is nice to have like a historical record or something. Like sometimes like it's nice that like me and Ian can have experiences at Empire and then go back and be like, oh, I completely forgot about that, and it brings back the feels. But having a story about it, especially about a character, it bookmarks the character, which means that you can really decompress like everything that character was to you. Right, because your characters are so interlinked with your own personality.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you're with your friends, and there are genuinely real memories that get dragged up, and you're like, "Wow, that really happened." And that's a cool thing.
Yeah,
you know?
no, definitely.
We're getting sidetracked again.
Yeah,
Back to the start of the story. So, E1, 20 people. When did it start to develop into what we know now?
I mean, obviously, recently at Empire there has been a massive influx of, like, you know, it's gone from like about 1,000 people really at the beginning to like 2,500.
So, from like a more experienced player or a longer lineage player, is it like was it like? I bet it was quite noticeable that suddenly everything doubled in size.
Definitely,
and there were those new faces and stuff.
Yeah, because
you being like fairly front and center, because like you obviously the voice of the nation. You're a recognizable figure in Navarre, right? Like, is it interesting having all these new faces? Do you ever feel like, oh, this is maybe getting too big, or?
It's interesting you say that, actually, because certainly as it does get bigger and you get new people coming to it, which is great. We want it to be bigger. We want, we do want that. However, I do often need my wonderful stabby shanky wife to go and threaten people round the back, because some people, they come and they don't realise that, some people are very quiet and you can't hear them telling their song or singing or telling their story or singing their song. Yeah. So people do need to try and be a bit respectful, and people don't realise they're drunk, they're just having fun.
I've been shushed.
Yeah.
I've been shushed. In fact, we got shushed after you told your story because I'm blubbing in the corner. And like, hey, dude, like you had your moment in the sun. Now shut up. There's someone else. Someone else is doing a song.
So perfect.
They're like,
really
I'm trying to be quiet.
I'm not done.
I just need a tissue and to sit down. I'll be fine.
If that was me, I wanted to shake her hand after that.
May well have been, to be fair.
So,
but yeah, no, I've definitely seen that it's got much bigger, and certainly like when it's been through obviously almost like different stages, because like there was the first site where we had like the lovely woods around and it felt very kind of atmospheric and stuff. Second site, it was basically just you're plonked in the middle of a field with a circle of benches.
Oh, so no trees?
No trees. For the second site, there was no trees.
Right.
And we really, really missed that, like the atmosphere of it somehow.
I can't picture Songs and Stories without it being in the woods.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and not to put down other nations when I say this, but there are other groups in other nations who do things like this, but it doesn't have the fucking magic. It's something about the firelight bouncing off the trees and the leaves and everything, right?
Yeah.
Fire and import camps.
So when would you say Songs and Stories became what we know as today as Songs and Stories?
So, good question, because the way that I sort of inherited Songs and Stories was a little premature. Because Jamie's character, so we went to this incredible player event called Return, and it was about the steading of Return. And basically the premise was, you've gone there because nobody's heard from any of the steading. And you go there and it's completely empty. There's food half eaten, there's games half played.
Like a Mary Celeste type vibe.
It was like the creepiest, like, it's still my favourite ever LARP experience, and there was no music. Like, it was just you've gone there to investigate. Because the thing that was so great about this whole game was there was something for everyone. Because you had fighting, you had just drama, potions, you had puzzle solving. It was just like, what the hell happened here? Anyway, long story short, at the very end of that game, which was a good couple of years ago now, but it was a week before maybe E2 of one of the years, a couple of years ago. And his character died in the most epic, mad, heroic way, and we kept it completely silent, didn't tell anyone, and I frantically practiced as many bloody songs in 1 week, going fuck the whole week.
Did you have like a Rocky montage, but you
Pretty
playing
much.
guitar?
Yeah, of me just with Jamie's Soundcloud going, oh my god,
your hands bleeding and just
blistered.
some guy in like a hat yelling at you to keep going. Yeah.
And I'd hosted Songs and Stories for 1 hour one time, and then suddenly it was dumped in my lap.
And I bet that 1 hour was like stressful as hell for you, right?
Well,
like to take it on.
But also Jamie was there. So I was like, oh, if I cock this up, the guy that actually runs this is here, so it's fine. Whereas suddenly I was like, oh my god, I have to do this on my own.
He's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead. His character is literally gone. So yeah, that was quite...
So that's another great thing about LARP. Just hang around with someone who you want their job, and eventually they'll die.
And as he died, we did like the Whispers Through the Black Gate, and he said, Songs and Stories is yours now, sort of thing.
So when did the term Songs and Stories?
Oh, that was from the beginning.
From the beginning.
That was from the beginning. He would always say, has anyone got a song or story they want to share?
Yeah, that was my next question. Because that
on.
seems like there's like tradition and like ceremony to it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it becomes it's immediately apparent, like when you hang around it for like even a short amount of time, that there's ceremony and age to this and lineage to it. That you just, it's just beautiful, Like has anyone got a song and story? Or even sometimes has anyone just got a song because that last story was a bit long, wasn't it? You know what I mean? So
thinking about it, I sort of feel like there's sort of been like three phases, because there was when Garat was doing it, then there was just me doing it for a bit, and then afterwards that was when I started introducing other people to do it, like Sam, like Tristan, and the Embercool Striding that we're hoping that they're going to do it at some point, I'm panicking now that it's you and Tristan that's hosted it, right? I'm not missing anyone out.
No,
panicking.
So far, don't worry.
It's a horrible feeling, isn't it?
Oh my god, everyone
Did
is
I
so
not
important.
mention that person who was a really important thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it happens.
So I feel like we're sort of in like the third phase of it now, where we're hoping to, hand it over more to other people, so it just becomes a tradition in its own right. So, like, if my character died, or if Sam's character died, or that it would still carry on going.
Well, I remember like Sam when you took the reins. you were so shit scared before you did it. Of
course I
like you
fucking
were
was.
you looked like you were gonna have something terrible happen
you
to
did
you, and you were
so
so nervous.
well.
But when you got up there, you were just like, he just nailed it. He's just look at him flying. You know what I mean? Like absolutely
because I was
smashing
shit
it.
scared because I knew the importance, I knew the significance, I knew this stem back from E1, event 1, and I know it's a hefty weight.
Yeah,
in a sense.
But it's also the fact. I think the what carries it is the fact you do feel that way about it, right? Like there is. You respect. If you went up there and went, I don't respect this, I don't respect the process, I don't respect anything about it, and just like, I'm just going to do songs and stories because I'm just a really confident person. It's like it would lose something to it. The fact you cared so much,
and people
adds
wouldn't
to your
respect
role.
you, I think, as well. Like if somebody did that, then I don't think that they would.
I'd be dead in a week.
It's Navarre, right? So
yeah, I think it was pretty much that. Like my first songs and stories was when we were in the current site, because my first event was in the previous site, and then we moved. So it was a totally new experience for me. I just kind of rocked up and sat around for a bit, and then kind of had a look around the rest of the camp or whatever, the rest of the field, but always kept coming back to that bit. And it was only a couple of events later when you went, "Yeah, have a drum, see what you can do with that." Oh shit!
So
okay.
were you interested in music before Songs and Stories?
I mean, I could play guitar,
Yeah,
but I'd never played a drum before.
that is really interesting.
And adjust.
You strike me as like just someone who has a drum to their hip and have always had that. You know what I mean?
No.
It's because you know him as Sparrow.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, the drummer of the nation, right?
Yeah. Oh, Chris will fight you for that. Corin will fight you for that.
will.
Drummer of the nation.
Yeah, sorry. This is. I should say that this is like we basically. Me and Sam had to drive for 2 hours to get here,
so we've
been trying to avoid talking about songs and stories. And then he goes to me like, we were talking about the name Voice of the Nation, right? And how it's cool that there is that position and how it shows.
I mean,
like,
it's
reverence
not
for
an
it is.
official position.
But it is though.
Yeah, it's not a PD creation.
No, it's not a
no,
PD
no,
creation,
no,
but it's something that
Hey, but
players have made.
This is one of the best things about Empire is that we talked about this actually on the last set. I'm going to misquote myself, but it was something about like that there's PD's game, right? And there are PD roles like the Senate positions and all the rest of them. But it doesn't stop players from creating their own internal structures. As long as it isn't interrupting anything to do with the main themes of the game or anything to do with that, you're kind of free to create your own thing within the game. Like I joined the auxiliaries, the runners, and they're kind of doing that. They're creating their own system. They're voting it in. It's getting respect.
Awesome.
It's practical. It's, you know what I mean. So, and I'm sure this happens all over the place.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
definitely.
Like even in internal groups, like the Banner Armor part of is quite large now. We have our own internal politics. There's game there just for us.
That's
because we're
awesome.
doing it right.
And
it means that you're not trying to battle people that have been there 6 years to try and get some game out of the political game.
Yeah.
You just create your own game within the game, you know.
Amazing.
So and Song of the Stories is maybe the poster child of that concept, right? Like you get to create something so wonderful and emblematic. Like it's part of being in Navarre Songs and Stories for me.
Very
like
much
it's
so.
it's
I mean,
it's,
certainly for me,
they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like we had a friend of ours, Good Dave, when he first came. We were talking about you got to like terrible, like more like had been there like one session or 2 sessions more than him or whatever. But we're like, you got to go to Songs and Stories. You got to go, bro. Like, well, what is it? And it's like it's in the clues in the title, right? It's songs and stories, right? Like so. But he's like, I don't think it's really for me. And we went up there, and I think it was like the first song or first story, he stood there with like this look on his face where he wasn't too impressed.
Sure.
And then you
Probably
look
my son,
back,
to be honest.
but then you look back like 5 minutes later, and Ian's a good one for this. He gets that glazed look over his eyes, and he's just away, like he's there, he's living it.
Along.
Yeah, exactly, like
I
just
love it.
loving it.
Oh, I love it.
Like mumbling along to the words you don't quite know but really want to sing along to. So Yeah, sorry about that.
There are spoons. Sorry, I just caught that.
Yeah.
There are, if people want them, there are songbooks,
Yep.
and I'm working on a second one.
Yeah, I
Gonna
still-
soon.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. And you get like favourite songs that you really, really like, and they just really emote. Like, have you ever listened to the Empire podcast, the one that the actual PD people do? There's a song in that which is just like, if I hear that, I'm at Empire again. Like,
awesome! I didn't even know there was one. I must listen.
they need to promote it way more.
Yes.
What's this? A shameless plug I'm hearing?
for them, it's so good. Like they basically get like there's a really good new player one that I wish that everyone that went to Empire first time listened to, because all the Egregores talking.
Oh, cool.
And Claire Evans, and it's just
cracking.
like they just smash out great information into
That's
them.
awesome.
Anyway, we're getting
Yeah,
sidetracked.
yes.
Again, dearie me.
Shall we talk about IC songs and OC songs,
Sure.
and where they meet, basically?
Yeah. Let's
I should
get
say
our
that
books
everyone,
out.
both of them have these big books with pages and pages and pages of notes and lyrics and notes. It's fascinating. So where is it? Is there a line? Where do you think that is?
I think it's on the Thursday, usually. The Thursday tends to be...
Thursday is time out, by the way. Thursday, time
it's
in
time
is
out.
Friday.
It's an additional day. You pay a £5 on the door, and you get an additional day of spending that time with your mates and that.
It's the best.
It is awesome, and you should all totally come.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a songbook that it's split between out of character songs and in of character songs.
Easy
My
for you
God.
to say.
Is it now?
It's very organised.
It is very
It has
organised.
also been trod on many times and rain
Mud.
damage and all that jazz.
Yeah.
But it's
Weathered.
yes.
Yes.
At the Forge, which is the main pub of the Empire.
Yeah, they take out of character money there. It's more like a traditional pub.
It's more like a traditional pub. There is a thing that is just like you rock up and then we all sing sea shanties.
And it's fantastic. Like, I personally love sea shanties.
Yes.
So therefore, I'm always like, it's one of the great things about going on the Thursdays, listening to all these guys like singing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
love it.
And that's kind of what me and a friend of mine started really making a thing of just, every single Thursday night there's going to be, there's going to be reliably.
Well, you'll hear it from...
some drunk fucks when you're parking your car going, oh shit, they're at it already. There's always going to be songs. There's keeping it going for the entire weekend. It's also kind of a warm up for me.
But when it's time in, because I've heard songs that have melodies or similar lyrics to OC songs.
Yeah.
But I've also heard, like, let me put it this way, I think there was one thing that happened it's a few events ago, and someone sang an entire song, an OC song, at Songs and Stories.
Yes, I think I remember this.
Right?
Yeah, was that fairly recently?
A couple of seasons ago.
Oh,
I think.
okay.
It's
No,
within
I
this
think it's
year,
happened
at
a
least.
couple of
Yes.
times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this isn't, by the way, this isn't to poke.
No.
This
no,
is
no,
more
no.
like a
We're not
discussion.
poking. This is
and,
just an open discussion.
Yeah, and it's more like it's kind of like I can see. Like my feelings on it are pretty complicated and fairly subjective,
Yeah.
right? Like they're
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
extremely like situationally done, right? Like it's not completely jarring, but at the same time you do want to keep within that world, right? So there has to be a line. Whereas I think the specific person I'm talking about was just so enamoured by Songs and Stories that they just wanted to be involved.
Sing something.
And
yeah.
I can completely sympathise with that.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I would say that for me, I think there's almost a line between the people that are experienced and that do it a lot. Like, if somebody who I know has got a lot of songs came and just did a song that was just a random modern song with no changes, I'd be kind of like
bringing Sexy back, for example, might not be appropriate.
Yeah,
that's not.
But if somebody who's come and they're excited and they just want to do it, like, I'm not going to begrudge them that. Do you know what I mean? I do feel like whoever's hosting, though, like, it's important that their songs are like fairly on brief and like that and also that I think when you're hosting, it's quite a difficult thing to do, isn't it? To sort of balance that, like, you want it to kind of continually go up, but also up and down, if that makes sense. Like you want to finish on a high, but also you don't want it to get too crazy.
Yeah, there's a line that you need to be able to mentally keep track of.
Yeah, and you also don't want people to fall asleep or to leave.
Exactly, yeah. You've got to keep it within, like, if it was a straight line going up, you need to have it at least kind of getting in between that line most of the time.
So you're kind of like, you're trying to... See, this is, I didn't really think about this, but it is quite clear now you're even talking about it. That you're like a band leader.
Yeah.
Effectively.
But the thing is that you're kind of like rolling the dice on like,
Absolutely.
and it's your go next.
And you have no idea
right?
what they're going to bring.
We're a front man to a band with no set list.
Yes!
That's awesome. Yeah.
Great band name.
Oh yeah, cracking though.
Quite long, but still great.
Still. 2019, you can get away with whatever you want.
Well, really.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot, actually. You don't even know if you're going to get like a 9-minute ballad or an extremely well-written limerick.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. But this, I think, is the thing as well, is that if you're the bard and you're hosting, you need in your arsenal a lot of variety in the stuff that you've got. So if it has just been a very long thing where maybe people are kind of, it's a bit more chill, you want to bring it up again.
Bring it back up again.
But when you were saying previously about like your feelings on it being subjective and personal and all the rest of it, like my feelings for my songs now, I used to do a lot of filking where I would get an old folk song or something and change the words to it. But now I'm trying to move more towards writing original songs. But that's just my own decision. That's my own choice to do that.
But again, like, hey, we started the conversation talking about kit and it being aspirational, right? And I think that's basically what we've bumped into talking about here, is the idea that, first time you rock up at some of the stories, you might not be where you are now, right? But then you may want to work to that. Let me put it this way, like, I have no musical ability in my body whatsoever. But even I was looking at songs and being like, how do I write a song? You know what I mean? Like,
it makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, and just something to kind of like work out and be like, can I do this? Is that something I could even achieve? And probably with enough time and effort,
hell
you can probably achieve something.
Of course you could.
If I could do it, mate, you can.
Oh yeah, well, same. God.
Yeah, I don't know. Be careful what you wish for. You know,
I mean, you write it down.
Like you call limerick down the thunder, you might get a little bit of lightning with that. Is all I'm saying. So
you do a good limerick, and you're not bad on the tambourine.
I'm not bad. Hey, I'm not bad on a tambourine. That's for sure. That's my favourite thing about my new character is the tambourine and the power of the tambourine.
That's
it
works. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've got plans.
Cracking.
Yeah, so the structure of it tends to be, because what time do you start? Like 7?
7-ish. We tend
it's
to
a long old
set.
I mean, it
varies.
It's meant to start at 9. You often do the drum workshop earlier.
Oh, yes, you're right. My apologies. Yeah.
So we normally tend to do it full on proper from 9 till time out, which is 1.
Yeah.
So it's quite a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it must be like you must love it because like it's. I find this interesting looking at certain key figures. Like actually, I won't mention their name, but there are certain figures in Navarre that do really important jobs, and they're really well-known faces. And it must be a lot for them, right? You go to the weekend, it's your downtime, you want to have a good time, but you have a lot of responsibility to keep doing this thing because you became that person, right?
Yeah.
But one thing I've noticed, and the person I'm talking about, it's maybe who they are, and it's hard to shake off even when a character dies. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of your personality type anyway. You're drawn to it.
Oh my God, if Edwin dies, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do.
See, Sam was telling me that you were a combat character when you first started.
Yes.
And have you had to pull that back?
Oh yeah, I haven't been to battle for maybe a couple of years even now.
Let me put it this way: if someone yelled "Edwin's down,"
we're going back in.
Like either the whole nation dies or we're bringing you back. Do you know what I mean? Like no one's. We joked about this.
No one's even going to argue.
We joked about this on the podcast ages ago, but it was like we were talking about like if anyone threatened you, we would be like, they're all going to fucking die. You know what I mean? Like we would go to war. You know what I mean? Like, PD, you should do a storyline where you get kidnapped. We're reinvading the Grendel. We're going to kill them all.
Oh my God, could you?
Nobody stops until we get her back. Yeah.
But there was a time very, very early on when I'd only really just started hosting, when so we'd do the full songs and stories, host the whole thing, go to bed, get up, do the battle or monster. And I was just like, oh my God, I do this for fun. I am having fun, but I am dead. Like, so tired afterwards. So, yeah, I just started being so attached to the character that I was just like, I can't even face that possibility of her going.
Is this your first Empire character as well?
No, so there was Freya, who was, but I only had her...
I remember you said, sorry,
I only had her for like 2 or 3 events, and I wasn't super attached to her, and then Idwin was basically
her
created...
way cooler.
Well, she just was created in a massive panic.
Like all the best characters,
I mean,
right?
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So after, 11? No more stories?
Yeah, so this is a new rule we've only just introduced.
Because I didn't know about this, and that was one of the things that when I was doing my limerick, I was like, oh shit, I got to fucking do this. Because it was like the Friday, because I think you told your story just before the cut-off.
Oh, yeah, I did, yeah.
And because I was buggering about drinking somewhere probably. Yeah. And you were sitting there going, I put a lot of time into this, Dave. Come on, buddy, get down to songs and stories.
Sit down, dickhead.
But for you.
So on the Saturday, I was like, when I got there, I didn't have a choice of being like, oh, I'll just wait. I was just like, no, I got to do this right now because it was so close.
Get in.
But yeah, just like, I think it's a good idea.
I mean, I think it's working quite well.
Really well.
Yeah, we've only introduced it quite recently, but yeah, I think it is working pretty well.
It kind of helps keep the tempo up, especially if you like it going on midnight with a huge long story. You really got to pay proper attention to appreciate it.
And it's also like there are storytellers that I believe that could carry that. But if you open it up, then sometimes that isn't. And that sounds very like exclusive, but I totally understand the logic behind it. Like the reality of the situation is that...
Also, I think people are just a bit more drunk by that point. And like, if they've been worrying, oh, I want to tell this story, and then they finally gather up the nerve, and then maybe they're a bit drunk, maybe they won't tell it as well as they could have told it. You know, like...
That's why I kept mine short. That's the... and I wrote it down. Like, it's a 5... like 7 or whatever it was, how many lines it is, but I had the piece of paper with me because you are so nervous.
You're so nervous, yeah. But do you know what's great? I do love at Songs and Stories, if somebody does forget their words, people are just like, it's okay!
Straight in there.
Don't worry, you can do it!
This is proper shouted as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that started being shouted now is, because people they're getting up, and they're like, oh, well, I've got this thing, but it's a bit shit. And you're like,
shut up!
No apologies!
Yeah. I love the no apologies.
Yeah.
I remember,
I
can't remember who it was, but I remember they started way low. And they were like you said, oh, I'm sorry, looking at their feet. Yeah. But by the time that the crowd had done heckling them, their eyes were up, their shoulders were back, and they were good to bring it. You know what I mean? And it was really nice to...
It's
a beautiful transformation.
When you do some of the stories, you're throwing yourself to the crowd, but they are extremely generous, kind crowd. So they will guide you there even if you don't want to get there. You know? Like some of the stories I found, again, I haven't spoken to the director, so I won't talk about it, but there's a couple of storytellers, and I find, from my point of view, because I'm a lot more interested in story necessarily than music, right? Hearing an oral tradition being done again, is fascinating. Like, I guess before with the idea of a bard, and in D&D, it always seemed like why on earth would you want to be a bard? And what are the purposes of a bard in a group? And I was saying, like,
bard in my current D&D.
Oh, you're that guy. But the idea of, like, let's put it this way: if all you have for entertainment is fire and it's cold, if someone can make you forget about it being cold and shivering for a while, then they are worth their weight in gold.
Absolutely.
Right? And you really come across to appreciate that, where even if you are wet and miserable, you can lose yourself in songs and stories and just forget. And hours can pass before you know.
They do.
And they do, yeah. But I think it's much harder to tell a good, engaging story than it is to sing a good song.
I agree.
I think it goes the toughest gigs is like a longer story as well. Anything
Yeah.
over 3 or 4 minutes,
Absolutely,
right? It's
yeah.
really, really tough. And you can tell a raunchy story is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Potentially
raunchy, yeah.
with the right humour.
Absolutely.
But telling a slow, dramatic story with an emotional hook.
That's hard.
That's the hardest kind of story.
That is you're really pushing it there. I also say like a solo voiced emotional song. That's hard.
That is hard as well
because it's not just that you might have some drunken yobbos
Yeah.
from the Ashbourne Striding come up and accidentally bump into, or just some guy crying on the side of the. I'm so sorry. I'm just but and you have to sing this song, and you're nervous, and there's nothing to cover, right? There's just your voice and the empty silence of a crowd, right? Like it's like I was genuinely like when you were telling your story, like the crowd went quiet. I was so scared for you. I was like, oh my god, like I'm enjoying this, but what if everyone else is just bored solid by you telling the story? And then
they probably tell me out loud, mate. To be honest.
But yeah, but when you're performing and you're not used to performing, silence can seem terrifying.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
but then again, that's also what we're here for.
Yeah. Because like there was one Songs and Stories fairly recently. Well, I don't know. People were quite drunk, and I think I have to admit I got a little bit like excited because Jamie was there. No,
is excited code?
No, I basically because Jamie hasn't been there for ages, and so it's got suddenly
when he's
huge.
there, it's big.
Yeah, and like so when he was there, and I was like, oh my god, I wanted like. Show him! I want to show him like
look how well
this
we've done.
Amazing thing that we've done.
Look what you gave me. Look how creative.
Exactly. Like, look, we've carried it on, and so when I was choosing what songs to do and stuff, it was towards the end. It was a much more like up, and it started just getting like too much. Like we'd have like a big dancey number. And then people were just like talking in the middle of the circle. Yeah. You're like, no, guys, we need to get on to the next song now. Yeah. But it was quite funny that it started people just shouting, disperse! Disperse!
Yes, that was fucking brilliant.
And then people would kind of... But what I did notice then was then people were heckling more. And what you're saying about silence, like, actually... Silence during a story or a song that's quiet is important. And if you've got somebody who is an experienced storyteller and the people are heckling, or they know the person that they're heckling at, then fine. The problem is not everybody knows that they know that.
Yeah.
That they know them. Do you know what I mean? So then other randomers might start heckling, and then you're like, okay, this is starting all to get a bit too much. Yeah. I don't want it to become the norm that people think it's okay to heckle in case that person isn't okay with it, if that makes sense.
I think there are certain characters where it's part of their act.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, but there is
such a hard balance to...
It's pretty... It seems like those seem fairly obvious because they ask for it. They talk to the crowd. Yeah. Right? They will send themselves up and then say something ridiculous, and they're expecting that interaction, you know? But again, you don't want to spoil
from the Splinter Spear striding, which I won't mention because again I haven't spoken to her, but like just the best stories, but yeah, they definitely a lot of group participation.
Yes,
and heckling seems to be fine.
Yeah, but I think that's what's really nice about a lot of it is the variety.
Yeah.
Right, like it can be, like you said. I know you put it as a downer, but like those funny songs that are just a little bit dirty are hilarious, right?
Absolutely,
but you can also have the same space where you can have something more emotional, more engaging in that way, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Remember I went to one where I was by myself and it was the end of the night, and it was one of those where people were invited up to hold their weapons over the fire and walk around in a circle.
Yeah, on the wall. That's one of Jamie. That's one of Jamie's.
I got so hard out into that moment. Yeah. And it was such a personal moment. It wasn't like I was doing it for anyone else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was just for me and my and it was just like that. Yeah, like one of those
hand twitches.
I know. I'm just like, oh.
But you end up like it's the whole thing about LARP, right? Trying to have a few moments of
where you just get immersed in it.
Yeah, where you just you forget and you're there, right? And it's like that's and Songs and Stories is a great vehicle for that to LARP and experience LARP. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also Navarre, it really what's the word for it? It's a great, like I spoke to this about Matt P actually, about how Songs and Stories indoctrinates people into the nation.
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
The number of people that have come in like Dornish gear or whatever, they come to the fire and then the next day they're like, we'd like to be Navarre now, please.
I've had a few people join Navarre through just like, it's pretty but it's like you take someone who's just joined Navarre, don't know much about it. You put them in front of a fire with a bunch of other Navarre and get them to sing along. By the morning, they are diehard Navarre. Will die for Navarre, the proudest of their nation they could ever be. And it's a weird transition. There's some weird monkey, like primal stuff goes on there. You hit the drum, you get lost in the rhythm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, I like it.
Navarre, stay for Songs and Stories.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about was the idea of, and we talked about like people being noisy or whatever, but I'm talking about, when I talk about this, I'm talking about specifically about game. Because I've been there a few times where Songs and Stories has been interrupted by in-character stuff.
Yes.
We have really cracked down on interruptions of that kind.
Or announcements or anything.
Anything that's not related stays out.
Yeah, the only things that I will allow is like if there's an OC, like there was one time where somebody had lost their kid on the field. And 100% yes, you need to announce that right now. But that, and if people have been murdered, like when see, I don't know who I'm allowed to, actually I haven't spoken to her, when a certain very popular bard, popular quotations, bard was murdered nearby.
Was it messy?
It was very messy. Messy the bard.
Messy the bard, yeah.
Oh no.
Would this be the worst bard, potentially?
Oh, no. I think you'll find she's the best bard in the Empire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was
the best bard in the Empire.
I think we might have given it away.
But, yeah, I mean, like, a murder, there's a bit of drama, so...
A murder, or maybe finding out who we're fighting tomorrow.
Fighting, yeah, that one for sure.
Again, there's this weird, like, there is, like, a lot of stuff in this. There's hard lines, but there's also...
Bit of grey area.
Bit of grey here and there with some of this stuff.
Wiggle room,
So I remember there was, I think it was Dawn marched in and they were really angry about, like, an insult, right? But that was great because yes, it interrupted it, which was awful, but at the same time it was great game because everyone was just like, well, we'll shank you right now then for coming in here and being so insulted. And then we had to talk about it and then be like, rah, and then it was like came to the thing and then we got on with it. Or even like an interruption, they're like, right, you can talk about that here, but this is Songs and Stories, this is what we do here.
That's the thing, is I think that as long as it's not too long, that's the thing, is when people come in and start monologuing, you're like, okay, you need to take this elsewhere because you're having a great time and there will be people around that will be absolutely loving this and you guys need to go and do that so you can all enjoy that. Yeah. But however, there will be other people that are like, I'm just here to get pissed and sing some songs. And so it's about getting that balance, I think. Drama is fun. Obviously, we wouldn't LARP if we didn't. It's part of the game, It is absolutely part of the game. But we are not trying to encourage that sort of.
But I would say that there's an IC, like it's not OC to stop people from talking over and interrupting Songs and Stories. No. It's IC.
That's
you know what I mean? That's the difference. This isn't an arbitrary, we just don't want to be interrupted by this. We can talk about, it's not fair to do this stuff. But there is a precedent in Navarre that you don't interrupt and you appreciate the story of the story.
Don't interrupt Songs and Stories. Don't interrupt Songs and Stories. What a legend.
What an absolute legend, yes.
When that guy came and did that song, I was like, you are my new hero.
Or is it just some guy like that was the whole song?
He has like a verse and every time I don't recognise it for some reason. And then as it's coming in, I'm like, oh wait. Is it? Could it be? Is it? And then he starts going, don't interrupt Songs and Stories, just over and over. I'm like, you're a legend. It's amazing.
That's excellent. Yeah, I think like so let's maybe talk about like, say if you are a new player and you want to get involved in Songs and Stories, what sort of advice would you give someone, or maybe where to start? You know,
I mean, I would say, so we do run a workshop on the Saturday afternoon now, normally at the Nabar. And so if anybody does feel nervous or they want just a bit of boosting, we have a couple of pride guides as well who can come and do anointings and all the rest of it, just to boost your confidence a bit. If you have a song, bring it to the workshop, because then there will be a group of people that can learn it with you and then sing it with you. Like, at least then it's not so frightening for you, and you feel like you've got some backup.
Yeah.
it's also like people with more experience, right? So you can maybe come to you with something and be like, hey, I got this song and I'm not sure how it works and blah blah blah, maybe give it a go. And that might even just be to give you the confidence to be able to get up there and do it. Or it might need a couple of tweaks here and there, but at least you'll be in like a accepting environment, right?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. And I think as well that, like, a lot of people, they turn up and they go, oh, well, this looks kind of fun. I'm just going to stand up and do a song.
Yeah, you don't have to be invited, right? Like,
absolutely not.
But
no.
like, wait your turn. Try and get some attention, right? How would you say? What do you what annoys you, and what do you like about people trying to get?
I mean, I have to say, I really do try to look around, but I am a bit guilty of having slight tunnel vision. If you're opposite me in the fire, you might be more likely to be seen.
Yeah. See, I do try
to look around though. And what's great as well is because normally there's a team of us. Normally, there's not just the person who's hosting. So you might go, oh yeah, that person over there, but then you'll get a tap on the shoulder and go, oh, there was someone over on the other side that was also putting their hand up. You go, right, okay, mental note, they'll go next.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, the whole team that do it, because we're acting like it's just
awesome.
Like, but and again, I don't want to mention people who are, but there are people around you and involved in it who, even if it's just to get people singing and get people excited, their energy and enthusiasm is like, it really brings you in, and it's just like, it makes you feel involved. Like, they're so good at bringing eye contact and energy to stuff, especially when there's a song where you split the group from one side to sing to the other side. Like, sometimes they'll just like
end up shouting Navarre at each other.
And LARP's interesting because there are stereotypes about LARP.
Sure.
And some of them are true for some people, right? Some people go there with very, very low self-esteem or confidence, but LARP can be a way to maybe surprise yourself.
Yeah.
I think, like, I'm a firm believer in that people have a lot more in the tank than they think they do.
Absolutely.
I think you can see that in some people that do songs and stories. That's their mountain. They are pushing themselves to their absolute limits to be able to do that.
I love it when people say, oh, that's the first time I've ever sung in front of people before. And
that's
I'm like,
the best. It's like, you've done it in the best possible way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's the best.
That is the
best feeling.
Like, that's the reason why we want to keep doing it, I reckon.
Hell yeah.
Just to give more people that opportunity.
Yeah.
And even if you, I think there's a lot of people that think very badly of themselves, but, like, let's say if you're not Beyonce, right? You're not going to be able to bring the heat. Whatever you bring, people will appreciate. Do you know what I mean? Like, so don't feel like you have to be the best in the world at something to be able to go up there and perform and entertain, because people will be entertained by you, and you might be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
you say you're not Beyonce. I just need to mention that me and Nem won't care. Nem.
If it's people feel free, right? Like, because so they won't mind.
We very briefly entertained the idea of Phil go, oh, Navarre ladies, oh, Navarre, put your spears up, and we're like, no, Garak will turn in his grave.
Yes. No, I think we crossed the line there and left it a few miles back.
Yeah, we didn't just cross the line, we leapt over it and did
there's a line in the sand
dance.
It's so far away you can't actually see it anymore.
I know, but now it's out there, so that makes
I was talking to Sam on the way here, and I might have mentioned this before. I can't remember what I say on my own podcast. So, but like, I was looking into storytelling, which I feel is like maybe where I would be better suited, because I can't sing. Basically, I probably can sing, but like not. I don't want to solo sing. I don't want to do that. But like doing a story. So like, this is the way I'm approaching E1 potentially. I might not do it, so it might be something that happens later. But just to muse on it, like Japanese storytelling. There's like a thing we were talking about in the car where it's just like, Yeah, whereas like one person telling a story and they have props and they get to do that.
Oh, cool.
And that was, but I'm using that as an example because there are many forms of storytelling and song, right? Like there's literally a whole world of cultures and understanding. You might want to explore one of those, right? And use that as a basis for what you want to do to perform, right? So it doesn't have to be, and musical genres, right? Like there is 101 different styles and songs and instruments that you can use to portray whatever you want to. So maybe look at that like going forward as in there are very few things off limits, maybe modern day stuff.
Yeah, I mean, on the actual wiki, the Navari brief is sort of Celtic folky kind of songs,
Celtic,
but with African kind of rhythms is what it's kind of broadly meant to be, and it's meant to have sort of eerie, ethereal kind of elements to it. It's been such a long time since I've actually bloody read the brief, but I remember something about things like
read the
called
brief.
Yeah.
What are you looking at me for?
I'm just saying.
I haven't read all of it yet. I'm working on it.
And that's what it looks like when you throw someone under the bus.
You bastard.
But yeah, that's. I mean, I would say if you're sticking within that, sometimes it's a sad fact. You can get away with a lot if it's funny. Because this is the thing. That's why, like, if you are one person bringing one song, you're not going to derail the whole thing because the person that's hosting will bring it back on brief.
Yeah.
Like, I remember many, many moons ago when a guy brought, hey, I want to be Nirvana.
Yeah.
I want to be a rock star. Like,
Pretty much.
Yeah. But it was quite funny. You know, it was funny. And so you're like, cool, fine. But then maybe afterwards you might say to the person, like, hey, it's great. Maybe don't do it every single event.
It came writhing and creeping through the crumbling stone. It brutalized and devastated. Everything ripped to shreds, twisted, knotted and broken. Empires rise and fall, heralds hierarchical. It was monstrous and deadly, driving us out of our homes. Navarre and Thor laid down their lives. Drugs created just to weaken the below. Traveling far to defeat it. Empires rise and fall, heralds hierarchical. Strike it down, together fight as one. Magic unwound vines they grew, crushing all they found.
How did you become the voice of the nation, even if it is an unofficial role? How did that happen?
Well, I'm trying to remember. I think that Geraint was referred to as the voice of the nation before.
It was.
Pretty sure he was.
So he had that title even unofficially.
Yeah.
And then when he died, you kind of inherited it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because I was hosting Songs and Stories.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I'm trying to remember.
It came from being kind of like hosting Songs and Stories, but then you started branching into more ceremonial stuff.
Yeah, I suppose so, because people would start asking, like, oh, so-and-so from my striding has died, would you come and sing a song? We're from Miren, would you come and sing Miren?
Yeah.
Or that sort of thing. So I suppose, yeah, it became a bit more branching out.
Do you do songs not at Songs and Stories? Like, would you go... like and do a private gig, for lack of a better term? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I really need to do more of it because it's literally in my oath.
Yeah.
But I do get a little lazy when I sort of venture out.
It's a busy weekend.
Yeah,
most
yeah,
times.
and like, let's face it, we do this for fun. But no, sometimes I've gone like just to a random pub and just been like, hey, do you want some music? And then they might give a little bit of money or something afterwards, or some free drinks. Or
I've been in bars. A winter marker who's fairly notorious, infamous maybe, but a very, very good singer. And I remember it was one of our first events. We were in a bar and he just started singing, and his voice is just magical. And I remember like the.
Do you reckon it's?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like really, really good, and also to be surprised by it, like. But like, I think it's interesting that you made the point, and Ian said this about Eurozen when he went over there, that music, not universally, but in a lot of the bars, you're not meant to everyone be quiet. It's ambient music.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes,
and
yes,
there's a
yes.
difference, and like there's a difference in it. The ambient side of stuff, you can sometimes forget it's there, but it makes everything to do with the atmosphere.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God,
It really, really adds so much.
Like
for those who play D&D, anyone who has a DM that would put on music to put the scene, any tavern, you're going to hear music in the background.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, it's just a thing. It's a thing, and that is what most taverns and pubs around.
And it feels so.
Yeah.
It feels like because we went to a Marches. It was the Marches Fair or something. What's that thing called? Where they
was that last event?
I can't remember. Maybe. God, that's terrible. I can't remember. But yeah, whatever. We were watching. Me and Ian are watching the scene go by, and everything's happening. And I went like, "Isn't it cool that those people are playing music and stuff?" And Ian was like, "What?" Because he was so lost in the moment that it was almost like a backing track to a computer game or something.
Wow.
He didn't even realise
That's amazing.
It wasn't a conscious thing. It was just part of the scene in front of us. You know?
Oh yeah, amazing.
So that makes me think more about Songs and Stories as something that really stands out as something that's not ambient.
Yeah, that's that. I
Very
think,
much so,
I think
yeah.
that's the thing that makes it quite different, is that we've tried very, very hard to continue that tradition of it being, you're here to listen to the music.
Yeah.
Because there are other places where you can go and it is ambient in the background.
And dare I say, maybe those people that are doing those sort of performances are potentially significantly more confident, right? Because they're choosing to do that, right? Whereas Songs of the Story is a lot more, say, amateur friendly, right? Like you can go there with less experience, even if it is in front of a crowd, which might seem counterintuitive. But it's a lot more of a kind of like come and have a go type atmosphere.
It's a friendly crowd.
If you know you're going into a pub to play music, that
you'll be prepared.
You'll be prepared to have effectively no one pay attention.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, usually I get the feeling that those people that do sing are usually heckled into singing by people they are with. Like, hey, sing us a song.
Yeah.
No, I'm not really in the mood. Oh, come on, sing us a song. I'll just do one song.
I'm not prepared.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
prepared.
Oh, let me just get my notes out.
Get my jazz flute out of my sleeve.
Yeah, exactly. A very jazz flute situation. Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, I remember other aspects of like music that I like at Empire is like the that I've seen like a band on the battlefield. Like
Yes,
I've seen a violin,
the battle accordion.
like you're running around fighting, and then there'll be like you look over and there's like a violin and a didgeridoo, like, and you're like,
oh, that must be
obviously.
I can't say it because I think I know who
They
they
know
are.
exactly
They know who they are.
yeah,
They know
and
who
that's
they
just
are.
like
One's
because
big and
especially when
one's
you're really into the RP of the battle, and then you look over and you're just like, oh my god, they're completely undefended in this chaos.
Yeah.
Chomping along, playing
I love
away.
them so much.
Like, hats off to you.
Tell you what, that also makes a huge difference in a battle.
Yeah.
If you're running into something that you know you're probably not going to get through, and there's no music, all you hear are screams.
Yeah.
If you're going in there hearing someone beating on a drum. Going nuts,
Well, there's
that makes you push even harder.
Well,
Yeah.
there's real world examples of this, right? Like
Yeah.
bands were a real thing in battle.
Exactly.
Also, they're used to signal and do a whole bunch of other
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like I think drummers are something that is maybe underutilized in battles. Like musicians and that as a concept is like something really really good.
17th
I remember
century is
seeing-
huge for drummers, especially.
Yeah. I think like it adds to the atmosphere as well. Even a distant drum adds. You don't need to be close to it. It adds to the ambiance of this giant epic scale, which
Definitely,
Empire builds.
Yeah.
Be able to
So
present.
before I stopped taking the field, something that I used to do a lot actually was just park myself next door to whatever general that was shouting orders and just shout the same orders louder.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, I can do this pretty loud, so let's just do this.
Yeah. And also, like, there are not all good commanders necessarily have the loudest voices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's like if you're a big burly dude who's 6'4" with a voice box the size of a brick,
I
then
can
it's
think of
like
one
you
of
can
them.
like
About 5.
Yeah, sure. There's one in particular I
One
can
of the
think
last.
of.
But just because you don't have the loudest voice doesn't necessarily mean that you should avoid doing certain roles, right? You can have someone.
Absolutely.
All you're lacking is someone to yell loudly for you,
Yeah.
and someone to do that and get them to help
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, just because you can shout loudly doesn't mean you have the best advice to give.
Very much so. In all aspects of life.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
As someone that does have a loud voice and is a complete idiot. So, it's... I
so
totally
join
get
the club.
Yeah.
We have t-shirts.
Hi, I'm an idiot, don't listen to me. Just because I'm loud doesn't mean you should pay attention. I'm kind of excited about, like, obviously we've got the long dark ahead of us and like all this stuff, but yeah, I've been all my mental focus has been on podcasting recently, and I really need to take some time to actually be like, I need to write a song
Yes,
or
you
a
do.
story or do something to do with that.
Yes.
So please don't heckle unless it's relevant, and then heckle,
Yeah.
because you're very welcome to if it is.
Something that I do find that's good with stories, and somebody came to one of our workshop things recently, and she told the story. It was a good story, good length, not too long, entertaining, and the little pointers that we gave her were, if you've got almost like a chorus in, like, you've got a bit that is repeated, people can like link onto it, and and like these little things that you can do that I think just bring people back, bring people back to the story.
There's cadence, right?
Absolutely,
like it's,
yeah.
and patter and like repeat. Like there's one guy who he does that a lot in his stories.
Yeah.
And they're very, very effective.
Yeah.
Extremely
I know
effective.
exactly
I'd love
who
to,
that is.
In fact, I would love to talk to that person a lot more about that, because I find
He's sometimes at the workshops.
because I find his stuff, like, as someone that loves story and loves like all of that, I look at him and I'm just like, it's not even like
He's very good at what he
I'm
does,
almost mettering listening to the story because of how interested I am by his delivery. You know what I mean? Like it's he did the story of, is it Clegane the Orc, who
Clegane,
who was the first one to jump across the thing.
Yeah.
That whole story was like one of my all-time highlights in any LARP, because I was just like, at first I was like, well, this is a long ass story. It's going to take a long time. I'm not sure. And then like I'm transfixed.
And then you're immersed.
Yeah. And then the end of the story, I'm just like, holy shit, that was epic.
Yeah.
Like, I love that story. I want to tell my own version. In fact, like, what do you think about like deep diving onto the wiki and taking stories out of there and putting a new spin on it? Which is one thing I was thinking about doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, certainly one of the things that Jamie said to me when I was first trying to find material to write about He said, find something on the wiki, and because then it's edutainment.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can. Nobody has read the entire wiki.
Yeah.
But the people that have read
Well,
that
I don't
little
know.
bit.
I don't know.
Well,
that might be.
Okay, no. Most people have
Yeah.
not read the entire wiki. In fact, many people have
Yes.
barely read the wiki at all. Pointing at myself here.
Oh, that's how you spell Navarre.
Yeah, really. But if you take a moment, like, so that my song, The Trees of Leatherven, that I got the idea for that because I was just looking through and I was like, oh man, like this, because we had so many songs about the Thorns and all of their brave deeds and all the rest of it, and I was like, hang on a minute, we're falling into tropes here. Like, who else have we got?
Yeah.
The Vates. And look at this amazing, really heroic deed that the Vates did. So that's why I took that one, because it was something that I felt wasn't represented very much and around the songs and stories.
I like the stuff of reinterpretation, right? And then if you listen to podcasts and you listen to the intros and outros, a load of stuff is like taken or homages to other things. And you can kind of use those aspects where whatever you're doing, even if you are trying to retell exactly the same story that you're seeing, you will tell it in your own way.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's just like no two people, if all three of us here said, right, all of us are going to write the story on the same story, right? We all know what the story is, but each of our delivery and how that story is, and even like the point of the story might well change between the teller, right? So I find that like a really interesting aspect of, especially in a world like Empire, where it isn't mass media, right? Like, there are many different narratives in Empire, right? Like, and word of mouth is very important. Anyone that's been told anything, you'll be like, hey, this happened. And someone will be like, that isn't what happened. This happened.
I
and
was
you'll be
there. Like, what? But I was there too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but I heard reliably off a guy in Wintermark that this was happening.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's fake news, dude. I am so easy to get tricked by any news. Like I'll believe anything you tell me. Anything at all.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Just say it with a straight face.
Winky face.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, man! All briars have gone crazy. You got to kill them fast. I'm like, all right,
God.
let's go kill some briars.
It's too soon.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
one hell of an event, right?
Yeah.
Don't have a fucking clue.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I might throw some ideas at you. Actually, I'm gonna put you on the spot and be like, let's see what happens.
That's another thing as well. If you want ideas, or if you have an idea, this is what the workshops are for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But if you want to also approach us two or us three,
Whoever,
yeah, if you want to, we're here. Constructive criticism. My rates are reasonable.
Is there a Songs and Story group on Facebook or on the forums or anything specifically for that?
I mean, there's Navarre Music.
Yeah, there is
Navarre Music is kind of where most of the people go, okay, so I've got this, and they chuck it at us, and we give OC feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, obviously...
Getting started, that might be a good way to go, though.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No.
Join the Navarre Music page and put out what you got.
Yeah. I mean, like, even with the workshops, like, I came with a half-formed song idea to write for Keaton's Voice, the song that we played for the first time a couple of seasons ago.
2 seasons.
Yeah. And... it was one of these things where we wrote it as a group, and I still need to find all the people that were there so I can credit them properly. But yeah, it was one of these things where even the more experienced of us can come and you can learn, and because people, like you say, everyone's got their own take on it.
Aye.
Everyone will have an idea for different lyrics, different things, and we came up. I'm really pleased with that song. It's like one of my favourites now.
It's brilliant.
Well, it's
Yeah.
I find this with, it's maybe not music, but I think any creative people understand this. When you have a project and you're creative on it, you can hit roadblocks.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they will seem huge in your own head. And then when you pass it on to anyone else's eyes, they're like, well, this wasn't a roadblock in the first place. You're actually on the right track. It's or even you just need to do X or Y, and then suddenly it becomes a lot easier to achieve.
Definitely,
That's what happened with Altman Kaza.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was blocked for a good half of that. I got proper writer's block, and then Smo helped me write it.
No way!
So she's credited on there.
That's amazing.
Well, this is the thing about LARP as well. If you care about it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the time, if you're going to tell a story, it's something that you potentially have a IC interaction with or relevance to.
Yeah.
So therefore, you don't want to fuck it up.
Absolutely.
Right? I remember
Exactly.
talking to you about your story and how nervous you were about me.
How
I was
nervous you
nervous
were
for
for
you.
me.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone was nervous.
Yeah.
But no, it's like I think like there is a support network to find out and maybe push your boundaries on things. Yeah. I don't know whether like I like the idea now of actually trying to do something serious. Like my mind is like, oh, I'll just do like something funny. But like the idea of potentially working towards something where it is emotionally driven, you can get a reaction of someone. Like that might be my Everest, something to really try and aspire towards.
Do it.
Nothing's stopping you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to be here to help you out.
Oh yeah.
Or heckle.
Mock you. Or
Yeah.
mock you. I was going to say,
Either or.
I'll be sitting on the seat like,
Yeah.
shit!
You're a disgrace to the bar!
That's how you make him cry again.
Yeah, again.
Yeah. I just keep crying at songs and stories. It's so because they're mean to me. I'm one of those people. I tend to fettle a lot. Like I'm in bed while songs and stories is still on. Sometimes, I'm that guy. But going to bed listening to songs and stories might be my favourite way of going to sleep.
I have heard that actually.
Yeah.
It's so
And
good.
that a lot of people use. They're like, oh, I can hear on the wall. Oh, it must be nearly time out.
Yeah. They use songs and stories as a
Like a
timing
timer.
device. Yeah.
Yeah.
They know when the stories stop going, it's like, oh shit, alright, it's getting on a bit.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
To know that it's a measurement of time.
Yeah.
But it's like
that's
you get to
amazing.
like I get to have like LARP fantasy dreams while when you're in that kind of like half sleep
Oh,
state
yeah.
and like you can have like I remember I fell asleep to a Wolf Mother. Wolf Mother.
Yeah.
I fell asleep to Wolf Mother and I had the most epic
Yay!
70s sci-fi dreams
Oh my
ever
God.
with like
Love
like
it.
motorbikes and guys with guitars and just jumps and
yeah. Love it.
just epic. And I'm like, I think the same thing happens when I'm listening to songs and stories. It's
Literally,
like,
the image I got was Aha, Take On Me, the music video.
yeah, kind of. Yeah, a little bit.
With the drawing.
Yeah, with the drawing style. Yeah, exactly.
I know what you mean.
Exactly. Music video's incoming.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's something that. Yes, there's some exciting things in the pipeline.
What's
For
that?
well, we're hoping to do. I don't
Become
know
a
if I'm allowed
motorbike
to-
gang?
Yeah, that's definitely what we're doing now. We're gonna basically try and get a bunch of people together and record like a music video basically for Painted.
Oh, dude, yeah. Awesome.
Which we thought would be like a real good laugh. So
Yeah.
so that's hopefully coming soon. Nem and I have also got this very silly idea for like a YouTube channel essentially, which is Nem and Edwin have fallen into the real world.
Yes!
And just this whole thing of like all the stupid things,
Oh,
like
shit.
at an open mic night with a microphone, being like, "What is this wizardry? What is this?" yeah, and like war paint tutorial,
yes,
really stupid, like.
Please make that
But
happen.
I
I
think-
love it. Like,
Yeah, I
I
think.
so want to be part of that as
Yeah,
well.
well, yeah, like we're gonna like do a couple, see if people like it, and then just get people in, like so,
speaking from experience, like, and this goes with everything, some of the stories or whatever, build it and they will come. Right? We trying to make something for an audience is like, whatever, just make it, and if people dig it, they'll watch it, right? Or listen to it. It's
Make it for you.
Yeah.
Well, that was basically where we're like, do we find it funny and will we have fun?
Exactly.
Hell yeah. Well, if some other people also find it funny, well, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a bonus,
Yeah.
but it's not the idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I find so I know there's a few different not enough in my opinion. Well, maybe it's a complicated thing. The idea of like media and LARP. It's a really there's a lot to it, and we struggle a lot with the stuff that we talk about, like, and whether we're crossing a line or not. And I completely get it. I think there's a lot of and everyone will have their own feeling on this. I think we do okay at trying to not cross that line. But the guys like the Orcs Planet do a really good job, and they kind of like talk about their experiences without being very specific, or they talk about things in a different way. I would love to see stuff from different nations. Like, I know Navarre. I would love to know what the Brass Coast gets up to,
Yeah.
or the marches, or
Yeah.
anything like that. You know, so yeah, if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, maybe I can do it. Go do it. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Do it.
Yeah, and see what happens. You know, you might have fun doing it.
Yes.
Right, I think we should kind of maybe start wrapping things up. You have SoundCloud things,
Yes.
and other
Yes.
things so promotion things. What, Gabby, you go first.
I suppose, yeah, there's the SoundCloud, which is just Idwin Split Root.
For many Navarre who are jonesing to get back to Songs and Stories or missing it, they might well listen to a couple of tracks here and there to kind of like just try and get that feeling back again, you know. And it's yeah, I don't know who would do that, but some people might. Go ahead.
No, I was just pointing at you.
Well, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Hey. And yourself?
My SoundCloud, I think, is quite generic. It's under Sam Wheatley 4.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get Sparrow Oakenheart as a domain
It had already
name.
been done.
It had already been done.
You're kidding.
I hate that when I've got like on my gamer handle, if someone's taken it, I'm like, it's so specific though. Why on earth would anyone have that, you know?
I'm in the process of changing it, but right now it's Sam Wheatley 4.
I will put those in the description. So
Yes, you will.
yeah, so go and have a
Thank
look.
you.
You can come join the Navarre Facebook group if you wanted to talk to any of these people about stuff. I'm sure you'll be open to messages.
Yeah.
within
Absolutely, yeah.
reason.
Open to messages.
Yeah, cool. So what were you about to say?
So I thought about, should we plug Jamie?
Yes, plug Jamie's SoundCloud as well. It's Jamie Wakefield.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is.
I think that's actually right, yeah.
I've typed it into Google so many times that that's all that will come up. So.
I'll put all of these up. If I haven't, then feel free
I
to
can send
message
you the
me
link if
and
it
nag
doesn't
me
come up.
to put it up.
Yeah, we'll do that.
But yeah, right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really
Oh, no
appreciate it. I'm
worries,
sure that
man.
people listening at home really appreciate it as well. If you made it this far into this rambling segment, but yeah, I think like just to sum up, like LARP is a wonderful opportunity to push yourself to do things that you haven't done before and maybe experience new things. Me personally, as someone that hasn't done any sort of drama in well over a decade, has been fully inspired to try and do something to do with it. And I hope that maybe listening to this and maybe you going to Songs and Stories, maybe for a weekend, has inspired you to do the same. So be brave. You can do it. Believe in yourself, and people will support you doing it, you know.
Absolutely.
Don't apologise.
Yes, no apologising.
You've
Don't
got this in the
apologise.
bag.
Yes.
Don't think twice about it, and you'll be able to have it over with and feeling good about yourself in no time.
Yes.
Yeah, and you might just make someone else's evening by doing it, because
Fucking
there are
right.
certain
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that I've
Yeah.
had that like Captain Prospero.
Well.
Oh my god, I love him. I mean, let me put it this way: we heard about the Coctopus play, right?
Oh, yeah.
Done by
The
and that
Brass
became a
Coast,
whole
yeah.
storyline for my old character who died. His dying wish was to go and see the Coctopus.
Yes, he wanted
play.
to go and see the Coctopus before he
Yeah,
kicked it, didn't
I
he?
died. I died as they finished on the bench with penis tentacles in my face.
Oh
was-
my goodness.
It's the way he would have wanted to go.
It was the way
Well,
he
dying
died with a smile on his face, still laughing while actually being dead because it was too funny to try and not like actually die. It took the term corpsing to a whole different level. You know? But,
love it.
yeah, so get creative, be brave.
Yeah.
And, we'll join you for more specials soon. We've got a whole bunch of these lined up, hopefully. We're going to try and be busy, and I'm going to spend all of my LARP budget on doing specials. So we're going to thank you so much for listening, and join us next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sharp metal biting my skin, a deep and binding oath. We do it to remind ourselves and keep our promises. close. With needle and ink we indelibly mark our brands bear hot metal which leaves them a scar. Novari we're painted and that's how we are. We'll spread our message above. Painted, we're painted. We are. Hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Painted, we're painted. We are. Hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Navari, I promise and swear to you a deep and binding oath. I do it here around this fire whilst I have you close. Our culture and soul